What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining me again today on my YouTube channel. So, today in our Scaling the Australian Mining Industry series, we will be covering episode 3, which is Western Australia Petroleum Industry well data. So, for this, we're going to go through this Excel dashboard that I built up here, talk a couple of findings over the years from 1922 to 2024 here. We've got the rig releases by year. So it's a good sort of period here to sort of look. We've got over 100 years, 102 years to be exact, of rig release data. So as we can sort of see here, there's been some peaks and some troughs. We can see here in the early 70s, we saw a peak here where there was 80 rigs released that year. In 1982, 115. Up here, 97, 113. Here in 2008, 121. Before we started to see the decline here, 2013, 14, 15, 16. And we saw a bit of a decline. We saw a big decline there in 2020 again, and we've sort of picked up since, but still not really doing too well. 2023, 24 were both pretty low years with only 8, 12 and 8 or 12 and 9 rig releases those years for the Western Australia petroleum industry. Um, so if I'm looking through this here, it's an overall downward trend over time. The peak was sort of here in the 80s and the 90s, and now we're sort of seeing that decline, I guess, in rig releases in this particular region. So if I want to look at offshore and onshore here, I'm going to go not offshore. So this is just going to be land. So land-wise, really strong in the 80s here. We saw big petroleum exploration throughout this period in the 80s. I've noticed this is a common trend across all data sets. Seismic was an all-time high in the 1980s. Rig releases were high, a lot of exploration-based companies entering the market, taking out leases throughout this period, before, we sort of started to really see these basins start to dry up, sort of in that 2013, 2014 period when the oil price started to drop and less sort of exploration started to sort of take place. Or it restabilized here and there was more of a push, but nothing much here over the last sort of 9, 10 year period. So a lot of Western Australia's established petroleum fields, like the ones that were sort of around in the 70s, 80s, 90s, sort of started to deplete. And to offset this decline and maintain supply levels with the rising global energy demands, it just shows how critical it is to, um, you know, give mining companies government initiatives to be able to mine and explore petroleum within these regions or additional energy based commodities to fuel that sector. Now, if I want to have a look next at our offshore, so as we can see here, I'm zoomed out a little bit here just to give everyone a better picture. We've actually done quite well with offshore, like up here till 2009, 2010, offshore massive trend up throughout that period of 1922 to 2024. So starting down here in the late 60s and 68, all the way up here to 2009, we really saw a 40-year period of growth there in the offshore-based petroleum market in Western Australia. And then we started to really just see a really bad decline here. 2018, 2019 picked up a bit, but last couple of years there really hasn't been much there. So that's just another interesting sort of look there. With the dashboard over here, I can come over and have a look at each individual lease site. So, let's say I work as a consultant for mining exploration based company, and they want to. I think EP320 is kind of like a site worth sort of noting at the moment. So I can sort of see, okay, what years were there rig releases on EP320? So 1990 and another one in 1991. Okay. And then we can see EP320 round two, one in 98, round three, 2010, round four, 2015, round five, 2023. So, sort of just shows across time when that particular site or lease has been drilled over time. Okay, next I'm going to come down here. So I've got forecasted rig releases down here next. So basically, once again, it's from 1922 up to 24, and then this period here is our forecasted um, the for the rig releases by basin over the next 25 years or so, and where that's most likely going to go based on historical based data. So we will see it trend up here a little bit, um, but we're most likely not going to see peaks that we saw back here in this period here in sort of the early 2000 or sort of mid to late sort of 2000s and over here back in the 1980s and through the sort of the 90s there. So, there is sort of still going to be some more rig releases there. And some of this can be linked back to, stricter government regulations. It could be stricter environmental sort of policy for mining companies to, in terms of what permits they have to get and what rules they have to adhere to when mining on some of this land. And it could be more kind of private property now, and that could have evolved over time. But, you know, uh, there's sort of been a lot of technological advancements and innovations in drilling and extraction technologies that have made it a lot more feasible and cost effective to access previously inaccessible or marginal petroleum deposits. So we may see a lot of petroleum based companies going back over leases that were around in the 70s and the 80s over in this period here to extract some of the petroleum that they were unable to extract back throughout that period. And if seismic surveying has already been conducted as 2D 20 years ago, then the data is already available for those companies to go in and extract that commodity with more advanced technology. Now, coming down here to drilling companies, total wells drilled in petroleum, Western Australian history. So down here, you can sort of see there's a bit of an unknown for the first one here in the data set. We don't know, but this company here drilled 605 wells in history. Oil Drilling and Exploration Proprietary Limited, 499. Atwood Ocean and Australia Proprietary Limited, 307. SO Offshore Company, 288. So you can sort of see who the big players are here when it comes to drilling within the petroleum market in Western Australia, at least. If I want to go offshore and onshore again, I can come over here to my filter or slicer. I can go not offshore. So this is just onshore. So I can see who dominated here in terms of drilling companies throughout this period. Okay, so this is the count of total wells drilled throughout this 1922 to 2024 period. So we can see again, unknown was 600, but Oil Drilling and Exploration Proprietary Limited had drilled 499, Century Drilling Limited 93, and Richard Drilling Proprietary Limited 86, Westbridge, Ensign, and Gearhart Australia Limited. You can just sort of have a bit of a look there. Geoscience Australia had a few as well. So that's all your onshore based drilling in that period. And then offshore, who dominated, Atwood was up there again, 307. Esco, Diamond Offshore Company, Sedcurve, Forex Australia, um, Reading and Bates. So I can sort of get a bit of an idea there of who the drilling companies are and who these players are within this particular market. Now, if I want to pinpoint it a little bit further, right? Let's say I want to go um, offshore in the Perth Basin. Okay, not much there. What about offshore in the Carnarvon? Okay, not much there. Bonaparte. Yep, so I can see offshore in the Bonaparte Basin, Diamond Offshore Company, that was their market within the Western Australia petroleum-based industry. If I want to have a look at, let's just say, onshore now within the Perth Basin, because that's quite a big basin for petroleum. We know that it's Oil Drilling and Exploration Proprietary Limited, Century Drilling, Century Energy Services, and Richer Drilling in this market. Officer. So Officer is quite an underexplored basin in the WA petroleum-based industry. Not a lot of infrastructure development within this basin at the moment, so there would need to be serious investment from big players in the petroleum-based market to sort of extract those reserves, I guess, within the Officer region. So that's just another one there. Canning, okay, another big basin here in WA. Quite a few again here: Oil Drilling and Exploration Proprietary Limited, Westbridge, and Richer. All right, so that's all I'm going to touch on there today as far as the dashboard goes. If I want to have a look here, so basically what I've done here is I've sort of linked this to my well data, so I can go across here, and if I want to go lease drilling and wells, I can come over here to my pivot. So over here, I've got offshore here at the moment. We can go all both offshore and onshore. I just want to look at the status as completed here. Okay, I can have a look at the rig release year over here, and I can sort of sort that out and have a bit of a look and pinpoint, okay, EP320, Beach Energy has that lease at the moment. Okay, who drilled it? Okay, it was Ventia. So you can sort of have a look at, who's drilled, what lease, what basin that was in, and have a look through the drilling based companies there just to familiarize yourself with, and then you can formulate patterns with, okay, this mining company or operator over here that is the leaseholder, um, who do they outsource their drilling to? Who's their borehole operator? Is it the same company that operates the borehole? And I think and you can look at the seismic as well. So once you start to understand all the facets and all the businesses that sort of work within each, um, uh, alongside each mining company, it gives you sort of some insights into the market and, where to sit in the market. And if you're an exploration company, what companies have been on that lease before and what work's being conducted and what infrastructure is in place. Um, okay, and this is the well data here that I cleaned up on Power Query. So we can sort of see here titles, the well operator, borehole operator, and I've just kind of kept the bits that are sort of applicable to the analysis, but I can see the well here. Okay, so if I want to know this one here, for Strike Energy, for example, it's one that is sort of quite popular at the moment, EP503, can have a bit of a look in there. And I guess also from, an investing standpoint, if you're looking at investing in some of these ASX listed mining exploration based companies, um, in the petroleum market, this that are less established in this market, going and having a bit of a look at sort of what's been sort of shot and what success rate is there on these particular leases gives you a bit more of an advantage there in terms of knowing the likelihood or the success of that particular venture. All right, so I'm just going to wrap that up for today there, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video and you found it nice and insightful. Thanks very much to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. It is much appreciated, and I'll look forward to catching you in the next video. Cheers.